Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye up, bye up. This is going to be a good one. Let's get to the intro. Welcome back to the channel. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that the gun stays kicking. And I appreciate your support, man. I'm very humbled by it. So let's speak some reality here. This is going to be a little bit controversial, and a lot of people are not going to like what they have to hear, but we have to state facts on my channel, and we have to learn how to deal with it. Because if you keep pretending or lying to yourself, you're just going to make the situation worse. Right now, as of today, okay, it is September 3rd, 2025. Baby Emmanuel, the whole Haro case thing, it's become a situation where baby Emmanuel probably, more than likely, will never be found. I know we don't like to hear that. I know that we don't want to accept that or deal with it. But I think it's time that we do deal with it and understand that if this baby has not been found yet, more than likely the probability of being found is very slight. It's not good. Okay, it's past not good. You know, in these types of situations, it seems like if the baby has not been found by now, then it's never going to happen, right? And unfortunately, a lot of us that are vested in this case, that are vested in finding the baby and bringing justice, we might just have to just bring justice. And maybe we won't be able to have that baby around anymore. But you know what? There's no one to blame but the parents, because people like on the tira, people like myself, several others have tried any way that they can to get the story out, to voice our opinion, to elaborate upon said stories, to make it happen, right? And it doesn't seem to be happening. And I don't blame on the tira, myself, anyone else, you that are watching, because our prayers have been with baby Emmanuel from day one. But who I do blame, of course, are Rebecca and Jake Harrell, and even more so the police department, because we're going to break down the timeline right now. And I'm about to explain to you why baby Emmanuel never had a fair shake. They never really looked for him in the first place. This was always just an investigation, and it doesn't seem like Emmanuel had the due process or due justice. There was never an opportunity. There was plenty of opportunity, but there was never he never got a fair shake. It didn't seem like they really were out there looking for him. Now, we do know that they pulled Jake Harrell up out of county jail and took him to the side of the road, and it wasn't to fucking pick up litter, right? And with that being said, then they doubled back and said that Jake Harrell never admitted to the killing of baby Emmanuel, but then they knew where he was at, the vicinity, and then they said they don't know what happened, and then they said that this baby was killed because of abuse. What is it? We're getting all these conflicting stories. The facts are this, okay? In early August, mid-August, there was a report that went out by Rebecca Harrell and Jake Harrell stating that their child was missing. And everybody in the community and everybody on the internet, social media, were concerned, because in the beginning, it was an all-out search party. Let's find this baby, right? Whether you did it over social media like I did and tried to push the story out to as many outlets as I could and share it and like it and let everyone know, hey, there's a baby missing. We need to find that beautiful baby boy. But then upon watching Jake and Rebecca Harrell put on the worst acting I've ever seen in my life, the B-grade movie quality bullshit, I knew from the gate, something's tricky there. Some is definitely tricky. And of course, on the tira started to arouse a suspicion, and other people started to put their 2 to 3 to 4 cents in. And at the end of the day, the cops finally got on board. Nancy Grace's dumbass finally got on board. Instead of protecting the parents and crying out for bring baby Emmanuel home because the parents want him home, we realized that parents didn't want him home in the first place, right? And it started to become an investigation into their past, their doings, and we realized Jake the Snake was exactly that, a serial child abuser, and his wife was a serial enabler, right? And she's not the only one. Vanessa's hiding somewhere with no pictures to be found on the internet because she doesn't want to take full responsibility alongside with Jake for what they did to Promise. But I promise you this, you will be held accountable, whether it's by the law, which seems to have fumbled this ball, or it's by him. And pobre, see, he's going to put your head up your ass faster than a rabbit gets tas. You should know that by now, right? You might not be judged in this world, but you would definitely be judged in the next. Now, when this case first took off, right, it was August 14th, but we know from the date of August 10th, the last time baby Emmanuel was allegedly seen at a Costco parking lot with Jake and Rebecca Harrell and his sister, his 2-year-old sister. From that point on, it gets very cloudy and sketchy, okay? It becomes a where's Waldo situation. Waldo being Jake. We need to follow Jake's tracks to follow where baby Emmanuel's at. Now, has Jake admitted to the murder of his child? He has admitted an accidental death just the same way he admitted accidentally dropping Promise on the sink, right? It's no accident that this man conveniently comes up with these stories. It worked the first time. Suppose it works the second time. Not this time, buddy, because you have avenging angels like Andatira, myself, and several of you that are watching this right now that are like, fuck you. We're not going to give him the chance to skate on this one. Okay? We got judges that just gave him a slap on the wrist. We got district attorneys that boggle my mind because they didn't handle their business the way they should have the first time. And all this blame is placed on them. But let's not get away from Rebecca, who enabled it, who came up with this story, hola, right? With 2 black eyes and a beat up chin. Okay, I don't know what type of role-playing, cosplay, sex guys you guys have, but I ain't never did it where she came out all bruised up, at least not in the upper region, right? Lower region, that's different. You know what I'm saying? I win. Baby Emmanuel will not be found. As much as I pray and I want him to be found, it's too late now. I believe that when Jake took those officers to the side of the road, he concocted a story and misdirected them and pointed them in a different direction. The officers are trying to save face that they know where baby Emmanuel's at. If you know, take cadaver dogs, go out there in full force and go find that baby. But the truth is, according to Jake, that he dumped baby Emmanuel in the garbage. Wow. I can't even believe I said that, or he said that, right? But according to him, that's what he did. Obviously, baby Emmanuel at this point in time would be in the landfill, the local landfill, right? But it's been a month, and we're talking about a baby here who could have or could not have been in several parts, right? We know that there was a hacksaw that was bought, and I seen a report where the police officers are saying that the buying of the lie, the hacksaw, was just a made-up story on the internet. It's funny that when the internet speaks on it, it's all made up, but when they say it's real, but there's no proof to their realisms. There's nothing to back their credibility up or to show that anything is being done. In fact, I remember, just like you remember, and this is what lets me know they're just trying to save face, and they don't know right where baby Emmanuel is at all, if he's even there. Because I'm going to tell you this, when this case kicked off, within 2 days, they called the search off. They called the search off and started focusing on Rebecca and Jake Harrell lying about their story. Look, they may have lied about this story, and we know they did. There's no allegedly there. It's come out that they did. I mean, fuck, Ray Charles think that, right? They lied about Mr. Ola and her getting punched in the Big Five Sporting Goods parking lot. And videotape and surveillance and all the different people talking have disproved that account of what happened, right? So we know from that point on, Jake was telling the truth about being at a football game. Rebecca was lying through her mouth, but because Jake made her and told her to. Okay, I'm not going to dispute that. That's neither here nor there. The fact is, why would you call a search party off? There's still a child missing. Did they know something we didn't know? Were they under the assumption that baby Emmanuel did not even exist? There's pictures to show he existed. There's family members that are saying he existed. He existed, but to what degree of existence, right? A horrible existence. That's why it's us that are fighting for his recovery. It is us that are fighting to bring his existence back so that he can get a proper memorial and burial. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think too much time has elapsed between the death, the alleged death, and now. You got to understand, and I'm going to get real graphic right here, so you might want to earmuff it if you don't like it. That's why the disclaimer was in the beginning. A baby's bones are not like our bones. Okay, our bones are hard as rock, very hard to cut through, right? And for the most, it's crazy because we be breaking arms all the time, but that just depends on your bone structure. But for the most part, our bones are very hard, right? A baby's bones are not fully developed, so they're still soft. Okay, that means in decomposition, when you're decomposing, there will be nothing there left. The baby does not have teeth. The baby's bones are almost spongy and soft, very, soft and brittle. There's that old saying that you're young, you're an adult, and then you're old and you go back to being a baby, right? Because when you're a baby, you rely upon your parents or someone to take care of you, to change your diaper, to look out for you. Your bones are very brittle and small. And then you go through life as an adult and live your life how you live it. And then as you become older, if you're lucky enough to get into your old age, you become dependent on other people, need your diaper changed, and your bones become brittle again, right? It's like a big circle of life. Baby Emmanuel quite possibly could be erased from existence at this point, but he's not erased from our mind. We're definitely not going to forget about him. We're definitely not going to forget about his pictures, and we definitely are going to fucking hold his parents accountable. Well, I don't want to say parents. We're going to hold those monsters accountable for what they done. And I think that's what the focus needs to be on. And I think that's what the officers are doing at this point, because I think they've given up on trying to find baby Emmanuel. Because how long was that press conference ago? About a week ago already. They did a press conference, the one where they were all congratulating each other for the greatest job that the San Bernardino and the Riverside Police Department have ever done, right? Meanwhile, there was a baby supposedly they knew about who's dead and missing, and instead of going to recover the body, they were too busy shaking hands and congratulating each other and wearing suits. That leads me to believe they know, just like I have figured out, that baby Emmanuel will probably never be brought home. At this point, I don't even want to use the word probably. I'm going to double down on it and say, unfortunately, as sad as it is saying it, I'm a realist, and that's what I feel. That's what I think. Okay, because I think that now it's been too long. I could tell you guys a quick story, man, and it's an upsetting story, but it's a real story, right? My tia, my aunt, lived in a neighborhood that I grew up in my whole life, the Beechwood area, right, in Merced, California. It's where I grew up. That was the stomping grounds. Just was what it was. And she had the same house since before I was born. And she had one neighbor, and I remember when I was young growing up, they were 93-year-old man and woman, and everyone took care of them in the neighborhood because they were very old. And then they passed, one right after the other. One died of a heart attack. The other one died of a broken heart, right? And they were gone. And that house stood unsold for years. And then it got sold to a Mexicano family, right? Later on in life. And I was always cool with the mother and the father and the sons. One of them was from the neighborhood. He was cool. The other ones were youngsters, but you could tell they were hood. They were, it was a little ghetto. Mother on welfare. Father didn't work too much. He worked in the fields here and there. He was a paisa, but they were cool people. Now, my tia which is my aunt, for those that need translation, right? My tia and this guy hated each other. He did not like my aunt. He thought my aunt was too bougie and badass, and she didn't like him because she figured he was looking at her ass, right? So they always had a conflict. Well, years passed, and you can hear arguments. When I go to my tia's house, you can hear arguments between that man and his wife, and we were so used to it, we didn't pay attention. Well, what ended up happening is one day they got into the ultimate argument, and his wife took the kids and left. Now, about a week prior to this guy being discovered, he, for the first time in years, waved to my aunt and came and brought her a whole bunch of fruit that he had picked from the fields. And my aunt took it, and he apologized and said, he never wanted an issue with her and whatever. They made up, and my aunt was very shocked and surprised that he would do that because he was a rough man, not the type of man to apologize to anyone, right? But that's just what happened. Week later, we're in the front yard of the pad. Yes, ghetto stuff. We don't barbecue in the back in the hood. You barbecue in the front. Vario's front yards, and we don't know about backyards. Mexicans do everything in the front yard because they don't want to miss nothing. They don't want to miss shit going on in the neighborhood, right? So my homeboy came with a big bag of oysters. We got the oysters on the grill. We got a beer right there. My Theo's there. He's happy because he just got off work. He's drinking. A couple homeboys sliding by back and forth on bikes, whatever, right? And I smell a peculiar smell, something that I've never smelled before. It stinks very bad. Man, did you bring some rotten oysters? What the hell's going on here? We all start to smell it around the same time. Okay, about an hour later, I'm like, shut this shit down, bro. I can't take this no more. It was a very odd smell. It's very strong, very strong, ammonia-like, right? Well, I see one of the little boys coming that lives in the house trying to knock on the door. I haven't seen his dad in a long time. Never was paying attention because I didn't live there, so I would go in and out of my tia's house. Just pull up, pop out, whatever, right? And the kid's banging on the door. My friend goes over there to help him. They end up kicking the door in. This man had barricaded himself inside this house. There was boards all over the windows, and he had took his life. Now, in doing so, he had been that way about two and a half weeks, and his body was very decomposed, and that's what we were smelling. They had to send a hazmat team. We had to leave that area for several hours while they cleaned everything up because it was toxic and dangerous for the neighborhood, right? Those that were in the close vicinity. I say that to say this. His body was decomposed to the point where it was literally gone almost, right? There was bones, but it was very gone. So at this point, and I hate to align that story with baby Emmanuel, we got to think in real life, we're talking about 115-degree weather out there in the Yucaipa and the area where he lives, right? Or he lived. And that body is not going to be what it was, or even if it was a whole body, right? And I hate to talk about it like that because this is mijo. This is a baby boy, right? But obviously, it just is what it is. In order to get down to the brass tacks and the realist of this content, then that's what it is. So for those of you that are praying, hoping that baby Emmanuel will be found, I'm going to join you one last time. And then I'm going to pray for the conviction of the monsters. And then I'm going to shift and focus my attention on not bringing baby Emmanuel home, but continuing his legacy and forever never letting anyone forget his name. I will be doing videos on him periodically. I will be doing more so videos on the conviction and the updates in the courtroom on these two idiot monsters, Rebecca and Jake Harrell. We know their past. We definitely know Jake's past. We're hoping that we could change their future. And the only way to do that is to keep this story going strong and give baby Emmanuel a voice. Andatira has done that. There's only so much he could do. I don't believe the sheriffs are ever going to find this baby because I don't believe Jake told them where the baby was. But in doing what he did, trying to cover up his story and misdirect him, he fucked up. Because he admitted that something happened to that baby, and all they need is probable cause and circumstantial evidence to convict this man in court. Now, I'm going to be totally honest with you. Rebecca, by them not finding the baby, that gives her more action. Because she is not at this point being accused, other than some people, of being abusive. She is basically being accused of being an enabler. And it's the same damn thing. But I believe because she made that story up and because she knew what happened to her son, she deserves everything Jake gets plus a cherry on fucking top. You want to pop it? Pop it, right? That's what she deserves. And no one can tell me difference. But in the eyes of the law, will they hold her accountable to the degree that they hold Jake? Probably not. I hate to be the bearer of bad news today, but I got to give you news, whether it's good or bad. The bad news is that this conca, this torta, this gorda, yeah, I said it, and there's going to be some women. Why do you have to talk about her weight? Fuck her, right? And you. I'm talking about a woman that's nasty, right? Who doesn't care about her own children, who has allowed a man, an ugly-looking motherfucking man, right? Man, I don't judge men. I'm just saying that motherfucker looks like Chewbacca. You know what I mean? And she allowed a man to do this to her own child and then covered up. I don't care if she was scared. I don't care if she was beaten and battered. I don't care about none of that. Fish is beaten and battered too, and I don't care for it. I'm just saying, I don't care what she was going through. No woman that I know that's a real woman will ever protect a piece of shit like Jake Harrell. But it happens, and we're seeing it in HD. She should be held accountable, but unfortunately, the way the case is looking, because Jake has decided to say she wasn't involved and she didn't do nothing, I guess the pussy was that good. We'll never know, right? Those inquiring minds will never know. But I guess it was because obviously either he's trying to set her up and get deeper and get her fucking to admit something, and boom, voila, we got you, right? We already know he's being taken down. They're relentless on him. but she might have action. Not of getting out. She's not going to get out. She's definitely charged with the same thing he's charged with, but of getting a lesser charge eventually, taking a deal, maybe pointing the finger at Jake and skating with 10 to 15 years. What Jake is going to do life without or the death penalty. Now, because they have not found a body yet, and we still use the word yet, but I use it loosely because I don't believe there's a body to be found anymore. I honestly don't. There's stories going around that he was just thrown out in the field. If that was so and he was above ground, the animals got to him, unfortunately. If he was buried in a landfill, we're talking about thousands of pounds of garbage. It's just fucking so sad, man. What this baby had to succumb, endure, and go through. Fuck, man. You know, you don't wish this upon your worst enemy. And to your own child, what kind of people are these, man? You know, I did a story yesterday. It didn't do too good, but I wanted to spread the word. You heard about baby Genesis, an 8-year-old that was killed and found in a bathtub. I don't even want to get into the details. If you're interested in the story, you tap into my video about Genesis Mata, right? It's another story where we need justice to the father and the stepmother. We need to bring them to justice, not give them justice, but bring those fuckers to justice. And that's just real, right? So anyways, in closing, I think the cops are misdirecting us and lying to us because they fumbled the ball. They fumbled the bag. You get the bag and fumble it. I get the bag. I flip it and tumble it, right? They fumbled the bag by calling off the search in the first place. There was a possibility. Maybe our baby Emmanuel was probably deceased at that point. We understand that. But you still had opportunity at bringing a body back and being relentless on the parents and being relentless in pushing this narrative and going out there and looking. But instead, they called off the search and then re-engaged the search. And I think it was just a little too late, man. Now we need to focus on getting these conviction on these animals and these monsters. Hey, and I don't care about anything. And for those of you that tainted any type of evidence, you should be ashamed of yourself. Because at the end of the day, if these people get any action, it's because of you. Justice for baby Emmanuel, justice for Promise, which I'm sure she's finally going to get it, and justice for Genesis Mata. You know, make sure you guys tap in. That's a good video. With that being said, let me know what you think. Do you think there's still a possibility he could be found? Or have you conceded like I have, just pretty much of the understanding that it's almost to the point where it's almost not possible, right? Let me know. With that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in, and that's the betterment of all people. And we're not going to let these kids not get justice. On my channel, we're going fucking hard, relentless in the paint, and that's the bottom line. Why? Because Gun said so.